Yeah, my name is Anita Meiklejohn, and I'm very proud to be a partner in the nation's largest intellectual property firm, Fish Richardson. We've been around for almost 150 years, helping visionaries protect their inventions. The telephone ushered in an entirely new era of connection that just fundamentally changed how people communicated with their friends, with their family, how businesses operated, and how people could exchange ideas. Prior to that, of course, there was the telegraph, but that required clerks that communicated by Morse code, that hand-delivered written messages. And now with the telephone, for the first time, people could exchange ideas in real time with someone across town, across the country, with someone you'd never even met. And that was a shift in people's ability to connect with each other that just drove innovation and change all across all sectors of society. Fish Richardson played a pivotal role in protecting the telephone as an invention. We were involved in successfully defending Alexander Graham Bell's patents in more than 600 cases. And that created a sound legal foundation that fostered investment in the technology and allowed it eventually to spread across the country and around the world. The biggest disputes that went on that time is a lot of people started saying, well, I invented the telephone before this. And so a lot of the litigation related to that. Many of them were consolidated and went up to the Supreme Court. And back when there were volumes, printed books of Supreme Court decisions, there's only one Supreme Court decision that fills an entire volume, and it's the telephone cases. Today, the firm represents some of the world's largest and most innovative smartphone makers. So the telephone is really integral to sort of the history and very intertwined with our firm. Well, he was one of the founding partners of our firm, and he was involved in some of the telephone patent litigation. In 1901, he became president of both American Bell and AT&T, and because of his knowledge of the technology and his knowledge of patent law, he was able to successfully lead the company through a period of very rapid expansion and competition. And all this was at a time when telephone technology was new and pretty uncertain. And then when he was at AT&T, he was instrumental in them obtaining the rights to technology that made long-distance telephone calls possible by allowing the signals to travel over a greater distance without a deterioration in quality. And to me, this is an important reminder that there isn't just one invention. There has to be a whole ecosystem of improvements. And it really brings me to something about the patent system that I think the public isn't particularly aware of. When you apply for a patent, you have to really explain in detail your invention at a level of detail that allows someone else to understand how to make and use that invention. Patents and patent applications are public documents. Anyone can look at them and study them. And this creates a body of knowledge that lets people come up with improvements, come up even with replacements for your invention. So in that way, the patent system drives innovation in two very different ways. It protects today's inventions, and it spurs the innovation that leads to tomorrow's inventions. Today, it takes far longer. As much as the U.S. Patent Office has made a lot of efforts to speed things up, that speed was not atypical of that era. Of course, there were fewer patent applications filed. But the other thing to bear in mind is when they examine a patent application, they want to be sure that it's novel and non-obvious. And that requires looking at the literature and understanding what technology was known and available to people. And of course, today, the volume of scientific literature and technical literature has absolutely exploded. And the time it takes for a patent examiner to review and understand that literature has understandably far, far greater. You know, when Bell was working, that was a time of tremendous technological change in this country. Maybe one of the greatest periods up until more recent years. But still at the time, the head of the patent office in that era thought that maybe it was time to close down the patent office because all the important inventions had already been made. Back then, there wasn't very much consistency in the way different courts handled the interpretation of the patent laws. And today, that's very much changed. There's a single appeals court that handles all the patent cases. So there's a lot more predictability in the fundamental legal doctrine. Today, you need a global patent strategy. And the pace of innovation and the extreme complexity of today's inventions means there's overlapping inventions and that the overall level of competition is far greater. I think one of the lessons is that it's important to protect your invention because that helps you get investment to develop it further. But the telephone and Bell's patent, it wasn't an innovation standing on its own. You need a whole ecosystem of improvements to really make technology work and bring benefit to the public.